Our topic for today is Design Trends of Platinum Jewelry 2020-2021. Please feel free to enter your questions below and have them answered at the end of her presentation. Over to you, Ms. Banerjee.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon and hello, everybody. As I've just been introduced, this is Vaishali, and I want to thank everybody for joining the webinar today. And I do hope you'll find it useful. I will try and answer your questions at the end of the presentation. So moving forward, this presentation, 1 minute, sorry. In this presentation, there would be two trends that I will talk about. One which will be for women only, and the other which will have both a trend for men and for women. And with each trend, what I will talk about are relevant design hooks for Platinum, just to show you and to illustrate how this comes alive for Platinum specifically. And each trend, I will talk about a consumer segment with specific lifestyle modes and what about Platinum really talks to that trend. So the two trends that I will talk about are natural beauty and mindful minimalism. Just to give you a perspective on both these trends, today's presentation will talk about the non-bridal part of the business. Platinum has a substantial bridal business, but this presentation is about non-bridal. So what do we see as the Platinum opportunity in these two trends? As I said, I'm looking at the non-bridal part of the business today. So the power of the women's self-purchase market today is really thriving because women are playing a larger and larger role in making a choice for the kind of jewelry she wants to wear, whether she buys it herself or it is gifted to her. Her choice matters today, and therefore we see this segment grow across the globe, including India. And for men, there is a significant need gap because there is a lack of premium high-end men's jewelry pieces in the market. And Platinum, with its natural propensity towards very elegant and fine jewelry, and the metal itself having density and heft, yet managing to look clean, minimal, and elegant in design, has a special appeal for men. So jumping on to the first design direction, which is natural beauty. Now, what's the first design hook that we will talk about? And just before that, what we will talk about are what are the words that are really associated with this trend, because you have to know that the trend extends beyond jewelry to whether it's retail or fashion or architecture. So the words that this trend is associated with are pure, sustainable, botanical, well-being, powerful. Now, powerful is almost like a new addition to a beauty trend that existed in the past. The consumer cohort is called the spiritualist, and these consumers have the desire to be grounded and sincere, tapping into things that are more natural, more outdoorsy, that can create this sense of calm and balance in their lives. Personal well-being is very, very important. It's key to this consumer. And they like to surround themselves with products that motivate them, that inspire them to be their best selves. So going by this, you will realize that self-respect is at a very core value for this consumer segment. And they want to make decisions for themselves and be true to themselves. Quality and luxury, both are important. And therefore, for this consumer, it is very important that they consume wisely. They are very conscious. They don't want to be wasteful, and they also want to adopt things that are local. So brands that can communicate a fresh take on natural beauty will be admired for their imagination by this consumer group. So in terms of what are the cultural influences to this consumer group, we see that outspoken, often very bold female icon and role models are influencing this new generation consumers to feel very empowered, to be emboldened, to be able to be their true selves, whether it's at home or in their workplace. I think it's very much for them a space of building character. And the ideal physical form for this consumer group is moving from mere outward beauty to feel strong, fit, and healthy. And then you see that well-being has been a word that has come up in this trend, is because it's all about health and strength and fit. So natural beauty to them is about taking control of oneself in this world. For them, less is more, both in terms of makeup. They don't want to hide themselves, conceal themselves behind any front. They want to be open, they want to express themselves, and they want to be true to themselves. So if this is the consumer that we are talking to, what would be the Platinum design hooks? So we have several design hooks for Platinum, and this is Platinum's take on natural beauty, because natural beauty is the larger trend. So the first hook is called the tidal spirit, because this really harnesses the energy of the ocean to create dramatic and inspiring jewelry pieces. So you see in the design, the never-ending swirls, they almost echo the spirit of adventure, of freedom. And the high purity level of platinum, as well as hypoallergenic nature, reflects actually the natural purity of water. And that is the essence of these designs. The next trend design hook would be named captured energy, because this really talks to feeling fit, feeling healthy, feeling strong. And platinum's strength, density, and ductility respond to the designs in this design hook, because what we want to create here are designs that epitomize a spirit of female power, physical strength, which is delicate in its forms, as you will see in these designs, yet very strong. They're curves, but they have a breakaway from metal form. So they give us a feeling of movement, of energy, of something that is almost barely contained and held. In terms of gemstones, there are gemstones being used, but they don't overpower, they just simply enhance the design. The next one is about flowers, and this is called natural points. But these are floral shapes with a difference, because it's really designed for a very contemporary woman. So they're abstract and far more edgier. They have a bold, strong look. And if you look at the jewelry pieces that we have shown here, you will see that there is a certain amount of pliability that is required in the designs to create a strong impact. So this is really about tough sense of beauty. And that's why these designs respond very well to platinum, because platinum, as you know, is extremely strong, and it's also very pliable at the same time. Fine leaves. Now, this has been a design hook for platinum for many years. There is a difference, because this is, while they are very fine, delicate, feminine, fine craftsmanship, this is also about being really durable. So each of those forms and jewelry that you will see, they are extremely delicate, but very, very strong. And this kind of detail that is required in these designs also shows the amount of craftsmanship that is required to turn this design hook into jewelry. Feathers that has been it has been there last year as well. Mystical feathers. where fine platinum feather strands are used in jewelry to, to make it more joyous, to make it dramatic, mysterious almost. These designs can be playful, they can be useful. You can create really one-of-a-kind kind of earpieces, because this design hook lends itself to creativity and lends itself to being off the narrow path, and just use the beauty of the metal and the wonder of this metal that responds to design to create these almost fantastical characters in jewelry. And moving for something as mystical and playful as feathers, we come to the next trend, which is really about mindful minimalism. Now, minimalism is a trend that has always worked for platinum, but you will see that the interpretations and the design hooks for it this year are a little different. So what are the words that we associate with this trend? It's forward thinking, simplicity, thoughtful, multifunctional, across board, whether it's in any form that this trend is used. These are the words that will form the strategy behind that design. The consumer group that we labeled the editor, because this consumer is driven by a desire to really streamline their lives. They make very clever choices, they simplify the products and material possessions they own. That doesn't mean shopping and consumer culture is not important. It's still key, but it's much more refined, it's informed, and it's very carefully considered purchase. So it's about quality, it's about intelligent design that talks to this consumer. It's very much a part of luxury lifestyle, because what it demands is the very best in terms of raw materials. It also asks for high skills required to turn that into a product. So this consumer does not want to be overloaded with options. They respect brands who are confident to offer a more streamlined collection that have already been edited for them. And if we look at what influences them, they are reclaiming this trend from its origin in a male-dominated world. And you will see as I go through this presentation how this forms design hooks for men. So this is a space, a trend that has been occupied in the men's products arena, but they are reclaiming this and making it relevant for them both at home or in their personal lives. Because what this really means is living fuss-free, purging what is not necessary. It's almost like a reaction from living in a hyper-connected world with limitless possibilities and being tired and stressed at always being on demand, and therefore coming up with this need and the necessity to simplify their lives. The words mindful have been used very mindfully in this trend, because it is really about making room for what is important. It is about pressing that pause button and taking note of what we value. So if we look at this trend for platinum, and we will come to the women's jewelry first, we'll start there. The first one is in between spaces. So what we are really talking about are undulating circular lines that really create magic by using the space that is left in between, using negative space. The strength of platinum will allow you to do this in terms of jewelry shapes, because this is all about volume, it's about energy, and there's a large influence on this design hook from modern architecture. Right away from circular is flat. So this design hook is about flat planes. Platinum will allow you to work with flat surfaces that can be layered at different heights. It can be offset, it can be curved, it can give you a structural kind of appeal because platinum is very strong. So it allows you to play along the surface. This particular trend works both for men and women's jewelry, but of course here I have shared what it looks like mostly for women's jewelry, because it can become very minimal and yet use flat planes, which will work for men's. Smooth curve. This is very, very feminine. It is almost a pared back, bare essential kind of design. It's very platinum because it's clean, it's not complicated, it's fluid, and it's truly minimal and just uses polish, which is either high polish or soft luster to create warmth or create the sense of curves. Very different from the simplicity of the previous design hook is expanded geometry, because this is really sharp geometry. It's edgy. They are statement pieces. And there is a real play in each of these designs, if you see the designs, between elegance and being edgy. And platinum works well with this design hook is because these designs will need a very strong metal framework. So you can play with this. Dynamic twist. This is really about being bold. This is about having energy. It's a slightly tougher approach to designing women's jewelry. It's a very ultra modern take on femininity. It seems effortless. It's very fluid, and therefore that brings in the femininity. But if you look at the shapes, they are very bold and they have certain edge to it, which makes quite a statement. Yet in all forms, they will remain uncomplicated. Moving on to men. So the interpretation of masculinity, and this is global and in India, is changing quite fast. And therefore, the approach to men's jewelry and fashion is also changing. It is now more acceptable for a man to be consciously fashionable, to be concerned with appearance, with trends. So the barriers are falling, and younger men are confident in expressing their look and their values. So what are these values that we're really looking at? It's, on individuality, but it's vulnerability. On the other hand, it's authenticity. It's about strength of character. The design hook that I'm going to talk about for men today is based on mindful minimalism, because this is across board. It is one of the strongest trends for men, whether it is in fashion or jewelry. So the platinum take on this trend, the first design hook, is about being multidimensional. As I said, because these men are looking to express themselves, whether it is in who they are and what they believe in and their value system, we have got each of these design hooks to talk to a set of values that will best express them. So if you look at multidimensional, this is more about being self-assured, assertive, or being forthright. In terms of the design, it's all about loops, being coiled, the shapes that are almost full of tension. They're held together almost like they will spring back, but they don't. And they have repeating forms, they have square cuts. So all of it is quite bold and very assertive, even in terms of design that talk to this mindset. And of course, you can play around with surface polish, High shine often emphasizes a more complex design. The next one we'll talk about is about modern textures. This is simple as comparison, yet it's quite strong and structured. Now, this is really about being quite understated. It's all about understated luxury, actually, and therefore it talks to the value map of being careful, caring, sensitive. This, you will see in these designs are pretty geometrical because geometrics appeal to this target group. But you can look at etching or brushing because that will increase some amount of interest and bring some personality almost to these jewelry pieces. You also look at extra embellishment, whether it is in the metal form by using sharp edges or loops, or you can use stones, just to increase the drama of this, but it still needs to be kept understated in its overall look. Simple geometry. This is truly understated and therefore is a mark of luxury. It's simple, it's elegant, it is at the same time, it is very structured, it is strong. And this talks to a value map of focused, competent, and controlled. Weaving connections, that's our next design hook, where we are talking to the values of being approachable, friendly, open. And this design hook uses ancient craft, and it's about being quite skillful in handiwork. Again, it is high luxury pieces, because if you look at it, they are overlapping strands. They are almost sculptural by nature, and you can have wide open loops. You can look at softer lines. You can have different types of polish, often even mirror, that almost create pieces that are warm and welcoming. The next one is about being industrial. So it's called industrial utility. And typically it will talk to a value map of being bold, dynamic, independent. This is really being industrial with elegance. It is simple. It brings out beauty in very simple forms. And the pieces are all movable with hinges and clasps and screws. And each of these pieces is a piece of art, which adds to the design and actually enhances the design, because the rest of it is a simple form. But these industrial fittings almost add the beauty and make it luxury in jewelry. So in summary, if we look at natural beauty, that was the first trend, and this is for women. We had 5 design hooks, which was tidal waves, captured energy, natural points, fine leaves, and mystical feathers. And if we look at mindful minimalism, for women, we had 5 design hooks: in between spaces, flat plane, smooth curve, expanded geometry, and dynamic twist. And the same trend, when we expressed it for men, the design hooks were around being multi-dimensional, modern texture, simple geometry, weave connections, and industrial utility. Right. Can I now take any questions that you might have? Okay, so I have a question which says, would you see color to play on the personality of individual jewelry pieces? And what are your thoughts on playing with color when it comes to men's jewelry? Color does form, and you would have seen it in some of the trends. Color does form a part of individual jewelry pieces. There are many trends in both in natural beauty and in mindful minimalism that you will see color. The point is that color in the form of gemstones or any other should enhance the jewelry piece and the design. It should not overpower. That is the balance that you need to seek. Then I have a question, which is around how can I play with colors in platinum jewelry? You could play with multiple colors in terms of gemstones. Am I right in assuming that that is what you want to ask? That you can play with colored gemstones and platinum. In fact, globally, that is quite an important part of platinum jewelry for certain markets which use color. There are other markets that prefer to use white, and which is diamonds, but many European markets we have seen use a lot of vibrant color with platinum. You could also use platinum with pink, and in terms of metal to metal. So, and that is quite a trend both in India and globally. I have a question which says, what, according to you, is the USP of platinum jewelry? I will try and answer that question as I understand it. The USP comes from many places. One, the fact that it is one of the rarest precious metals that are available for jewelry. As a metal, it responds very well to extreme design and extreme creativity. And it also actually appeals to a target audience that is young, and they respond to platinum both in terms of its design as well as in terms of what its metal attributes are, and very importantly on its emotional associations. And therefore platinum jewelry, whether it is in India or global, is really a very occupies a very strong space in the emotional associations of consumers. So it's almost like an emotional must-have for your very significant pieces. I have a question around, does platinum scratch easily? Yes, it scratches. But the difference that platinum has over any other metal is that there is much less metal loss. That means the metal will scratch and the metal will move, but it will not fall off. And therefore there is no metal loss, much, much less metal loss with a scratch. There is a question around demand for men's accessories. Maybe that we can take offline, and you can get in, because that you want to know what are the demand for various different types of accessory, writing instruments and spectacle frames, etc. I think let us just keep this to design trends for jewelry, and maybe we can take this offline, and maybe you can reach out to me. I've got a question around rose gold and platinum. This is a combination that has been in trend and continues being in trend, and we have seen great pickup of jewelry designed with that. How do you see the finish of each jewelry piece playing a role in different markets to sell to? It's not so much different markets as much as different consumers that you might want to look at. In those markets, if you're looking at the self-purchase market, then you need to see which is the kind of consumer that you want to sell to. And the finish of the jewelry will depend on the design hook and based on the design trend that you design to. So it may not be only about finish, but the entire package of the jewelry design. There is a question around the metal color pink. Yes, in the presentation, it was pink, gold, and platinum, not platinum plated pink. There's a question around how easy it is to make handmade jewelry in platinum. If you know handmade jewelry in platinum exists, it is there in every country. You do need skills, but if you are a skilled jeweler, it is absolutely possible for you to work with platinum as it is to work with other metals. Multimedia, there have been a couple of questions around multimedia with platinum, whether it is wood or it is ceramic. You can look at it. Just there is nothing to say that you cannot look at multiple materials with platinum. It's just that you need to be sure that the finish is well done, and because the expectation that consumers have with platinum is that it should be very, very well finished, because that is the consumer expectation. And when you do that, then you can definitely whether again, it needs to be clean, but needs to be clean and well finished. Wood, leather, any of these other mediums can be used, and we have seen them being used in some European market. But again, the same point about the level of finish. Black diamonds and platinum, again, if black diamonds would be a color, you can use it if the design demands it. It can be a good concept depending on who you're talking to, what is the consumer group that you're talking to, and what does the design demand. There is a question around, can we experiment more with the curves for platinum like we do for gold? In fact, you can experiment more. This is a very ductile metal. And so you can curve, pull it and bend it and twist it. That's why, globally, a lot of designers call platinum a dream metal to work with. There is a question around which country would be good to export platinum jewelry and accepts it more than gold. So I think this is very specific, because maybe you want to reach out to me outside of this webinar, because what kind of platinum jewelry are we talking about? There are countries that India already exports platinum to. So I'm not quite sure what kind of information you're looking at from this. I have a question on how can I train my sales staff to promote platinum jewelry. Please do reach out to PGI and maybe we can advise you. We have a training kit. Maybe we can help you with that. I have a question which says, how do you see men's jewelry moving beyond traditional to fashionable? I see a design hooks. Yes, we actually don't do very traditional designs in men's jewelry in platinum. We don't actually do traditional designs in women's jewelry in platinum either, because we are looking at a contemporary consumer in India, whether it is men or women. It has to be a contemporary take on existing forms.
what we do with these trends is we take these international trends and then we make them work for India. But platinum is always more contemporary. So whether it is men or women, that is the expectation of platinum from the consumer end, and we must always deliver on that. There is another question on gold and platinum, which I think I've already answered, saying that pink and white is a trend, and we look at that in platinum as well. Does platinum have resale value? Is this as a retailer or a consumer? I don't know what this means, but it is a highly precious metal. So of course it will have a resale value. What are the benefits of using platinum as to white gold? Platinum jewelry is 3 to 4 months, and that's why people buy white gold. Platinum and gold are two very different metals. So there are platinum characteristics and attributes that belong to platinum, and there are attributes that belong to gold. And therefore, if you want to work with either is fine, as long as the designs and the consumer that you talk to make a considered purchase. Platinum jewelry is actually not 3 or 4 times more expensive than white gold anymore. And it is not about like to like, it is what we see and what are the price points available in platinum across various categories. So today, I don't think that the price barrier of being 3 to 4 more times more expensive exists in India or anywhere given the platinum price. There is a question around recycling of platinum, but again, maybe we take this offline, because what is it that you want to look at in terms of recycling of platinum? Metal, bullion, jewelry? Is this retail? Is this looking at recycling as a business? I'm not very sure of the question. So maybe you can just reach out outside of this webinar. There is a question on colors available in platinum. Platinum is naturally white, and that's the preferred color for platinum. It's actually one of the only few metals that from start to finish is white. So that is, we prefer to keep platinum that, and that's where the consumer also believes in platinum. If we want to add color to platinum, we can always add it with either gemstones or multiple metals. Would I recommend making jewelry in PT 950 or 1000? It depends on the kind of jewelry you're making. PT 950 would be a little harder than PT 1000. But having said that, their jewelry exists in PT 1000 in a couple of markets. It actually just depends on the kind of jewelry you're creating. There is a question around the future of platinum jewelry, business opportunities for manufacturers, etc. I think that will take some time. So maybe you can just get in touch with me and we can talk about what could be the opportunities for manufacturers in this segment and category. There is a question about rhodium plating platinum. Yes, it can be done, and it is completely unnecessary though, because platinum is white. You can use different kinds of polish to make it bright white or matte white or gray white. So there is absolutely no need for rhodium plating platinum. There is a question around platinum and ceramic. I think I've answered it with the question on multiple materials and platinum. A question around how diamond intensive PR products need to be. I don't think it's about, the best answer would be that we don't look at how diamond intensive it needs to be. If we are looking at PR products, it really needs to live up to a design hook, a design trend. It needs to represent one of this, and it needs to be well made. I think that will create PR value. I have a set of students who are watching this webinar, so a big hello to them. If you want inputs or what inspiration can they take for designing platinum, I've just shared two very big trends. If you look at those design hooks, then you will be able to actually design to the metal. And you can keep in mind how the reason I put jewelry pictures, just to give you a sense of how these hooks can translate for design in platinum. So how we can take something as elegant and understated as the metal is in platinum and make it bold, or make it structural, or make it geometric, or make it edgy. All these words come alive when I show you jewelry that actually talks to these design hooks. So you could take inspiration from that, and you could look at what these words really mean in jewelry. Enamel I have a question around whether enamel stays well on platinum. Yes, it can, if it is finished well and done right. Why is platinum jewelry more expensive than white gold? They're very different metals. This is like asking a question of why silver and gold priced differently. They're different metals, different prices. I don't know whether jewelry has diamonds or not. What is the comparison point? So maybe if you're more specific on which kind of piece and why, then maybe it would be easier for me to answer that question. How do you see platinum jewelry and to be enhancing colored gemstones, and do you feel minerals, centennials are the right market for you, and or do you feel the market is not ready for this concept? Color has been, with platinum, has been around for a while, and it continues to be. I think whether you're designing for millennials or centennials or Generation Z, or so you take that consumer and you take what you need to design for them. Color or the lack of color, gemstones or metal, textures or finish come after you design for this consumer. So I don't think that it is either millennials or centennials who are or are not ready for color. It's whether you've got the right design for them. And if that design requires color, then by all means go ahead and deliver color in it. Would platinum and aluminum be a good concept? No. Platinum is a precious metal and should be alloyed with the alloys that are recommended, so that it is workable and it delivers good quality jewelry. Would you classify titanium jewelry as a cheaper? No, it is not an alternative to platinum at all. They're again very different metals. And titanium is actually not established as a jewelry metal anywhere. And platinum occupies a very strong space in the jewelry basket, if I may call it, across the globe. There is a question of what is the ideal ratio of platinum metal versus diamond. There is no ratio really. It is design dependent. And if your design needs a particular design, diamond ratio, then so be it. But my recommendation would be, don't start designing, keeping ratios in mind, start designing, keeping the consumer and the occasion and why and when they would wear it in mind, and then go from there. I've got another question, I think, from this, around the manufacturing skills. If you could just reach out to PGI, we would help you with manufacturing skills, where you can go to, maybe share a one-on-one with you. How do you inform the new generation that platinum jewelry is valuable, changing them? Actually, if you look at everywhere that PGI works in the market, we have fairly extensive consumer outreach program. In India, we have 3 segments that we look at. We look at couples, young couples, men and young women, and all 3 segments have a very large, quite a concerted 360-degree consumer outreach program, which is actually responding quite well to Platinum. And a large part of this consumer outreach is education. So that is an ongoing task that PGI and all its partners have, and they continue to do that, whether it is through the consumer outreach program or even at the store level. I have a question around fancy colored diamonds and platinum, and whether I have ever seen that, and whether they do well in smaller budget or larger piece of high value. When we see fancy diamonds and fancy colored diamonds, they work for more high-end, high value platinum pieces, typically. But that is not to say that you can't try it with more smaller pieces, but typically they exist with pieces which are just more, a little bit more formal and a little bit higher value. Casted or handmade jewelry, what works more? In India, we have cast jewelry, machine jewelry, which works a lot. Handmade is smaller in India, but if you look, and therefore globally as well, in some markets we have more handmade, and in some markets it is more cast or machine. Should you plate platinum? Absolutely not. You can just polish it. As I've mentioned before, you don't need to plate it. There are quite a few questions on different courses that people can take to gain inspiration in platinum design or gain knowledge on platinum. So I think those, again, I would request you to get in touch with PGI, and we will try and give you information around both in terms of platinum metal knowledge and maybe share the design outlooks with you. What sells more in platinum? High polish, bold, or intricate design? Again, it depends on what we are selling. If we look at bands, then it is a simple kind of design that sells. If we look at men's, it's more bold. If we look at women's, they're very simple, elegant, and pared back, or they could be delicate yet strong, pretty much to some of the trends that we spoke to earlier. There is a question of tips and techniques to promote in the use of platinum. I'm assuming this is tips and techniques for manufacturing specifically. Again, if you could get in touch with PGI, maybe we can share some of our technical one-on-ones with you. There is a question around the empowerment of women in the industry. It is close to my heart as well. But how we can achieve to better this in this industry is something that maybe you can reach out to me separately and we can talk about outside of this webinar. Is there wear and tear in platinum? Yes, there is wear and tear in platinum. It does not become black unless there is porosity challenges. There is another question around, does it scratch and is it good for engagement rings? It is one of the best metals to hold any stone. It's very strong. It's really grasps any gemstone strong and keeps it secure. So yes, it is called the metal is called the diamond's best friend because of that reason. So it is very good for engagement rings and bands, wedding bands. It's a large market globally and in India. The metal does scratch, but as I mentioned before, there is hardly any metal loss, so it does not lose value or it does not lose weight. And as I said, it does not become black unless there is porosity. Does platinum reduce hardness if we mix alloy? No, it can increase it, and you can also work hard on it depending on the process you use. I think that brings us to the end of the questions.
Thank you, Ms. Banerjee, for sharing your valuable time and expertise by providing us clarity about design trends for platinum jewelry. We also would like to thank the audience for an active participation throughout the session. We hope you enjoy the session and use this knowledge to your advantage in your respective businesses. If you have any further questions, you can email it on info@gematlas.com and we will forward the same to Ms. Banerjee. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you very much. It was lovely to be part of this, and thank you for all your engagement, all the viewers of the webinar.